All right, without further ado, we got Tyson Alger on the horn from Ducks Camp. He was there a couple days ago, friend of the show. We're happy to have you. Tyson, how are you, amigo?
Hey, I'm good, guys. I sorry not I didn't pick up the first time. I just like to build a little bit of anticipation and suspense
That's
for
good.
what will be a great interview. Yeah.
Strike one, dude. Don't do it again.
Well, Tyson, you were down there, and I don't know. I don't know if this is the right word. If muted makes the most sense, but what was kind of the tone coming out of media day for the Ducks, which obviously is a little bit of a different area than like when you do Big Ten media days at the conventions, particularly with the Big Ten because it feels so different from Pac-10, Pac-12 media days. What was kind of the
Yeah.
tone coming out of that?
Yeah, the Vegas one was interesting just because it was like such a large thing and it was spread out over 3 days, and it just felt um coming off of last year's one in Indy where like Oregon had the big duck that they put in the river. It just kind of felt a little muted, a little bit more corporate, just a little bit more business-like, which is ultimately what those things are for. And so, fast forward to Monday's media day here down in Eugene, and it was kind of the opposite of that. Like, there's a lot of excitement around this Oregon team, and there's a lot of excitement for this fall camp, just because there's so many guys that are competing for positions, for competing to be kind of like those names that we all know by the end of the season. I think that's part of why maybe Big Ten felt a little bit muted for Oregon. Is this is just the first year where I think the national media doesn't quite know like what label to put on Oregon. They don't have, the returning Heisman candidate at quarterback. They have a new running back. They have new offense. They have all these new things, and so I think it was hard for people to maybe label them from that level. But on the local end, yeah, I think they're excited, and there's a lot of talent that has been built up amongst these recruiting classes over the last few years, and I think it's going to really kind of shine here over the next 4 weeks of camp.
Do you think that could be the new kind of maybe mantra or image? Maybe just this year, or I'll ask if that could be the transition for everything of kind of keeping things a little more low key, like you said, no big duck. We thought maybe they'd buy out the sphere and put something on that video. Could this be the idea of maybe it's a good idea to fly a little under the radar instead of being the big brash kind of flashy organ we've seen over the past decade plus?
I think it's just more about picking your spots. That Oregon made a lot of waves. What was it in 2001, 2002 with the Joey Heisman billboard outside of Madison Square Garden, and that feels like something that the Ducks did all the time, right? But it wasn't until what was it 23 years later that they did that for Bo Nix and his Heisman campaign. And that's not to say that the Ducks haven't been flashy in spots before it, but I think it seems like they do it more because when they choose to do it, they really kind of knock it out of the park. I don't think people were expecting to see a duck in the river last year. And I think, kind of catching people with that randomness and by surprise is what really kind of ignites that. So, I don't expect Oregon to all of a sudden come out and be like a conservative school who's not highlighting their players or the school. Like they're probably still gonna be talking about their uniforms, guys. So
Well,
it's not
thank
like
God we got that.
yeah, yeah. So it's not like Oregon's like suddenly changing its DNA. I think it just knows that like um, right now it's just kind of a hard team to know exactly what to market if you know what I mean there.
Well, we were texting back and forth, not fork. And one of the things you said was the secondary's talking a little bit of a big game, and that seems to be something that's kind of coming out of, the defensive mentality of this team is what everybody's earmarking with this team as the questions are there as far as the offense, as far as what's proven, but the defensive side of it, even with transfers, like a guy like Thieneman comes in, his bona fides are there, and so the I guess the impact and what that secondary can be. What can you say about that?
Yeah, it's super interesting because obviously they lose some very talented players from that group last year. Especially looking at the cornerbacks with Jabbar Muhammad and like Coley Savage leaving. But one of the things that people kept constantly talking about, especially Jaleel Florence, who is coming back from a missed 2024 season due to injury, is just the size specifically of the cornerbacks. Last year, I don't think Oregon had a starting corner who was above 5'10". And now, if you look at the depth chart, like the guys who are competing for those spots, like there's not a guy shorter than that. There's there's a good chance Oregon's going to have, you know, a 6'2" and a 6'3" guy on both ends there at corner, which is just kind of different from the types of bodies that they've had in the past. You know, those are kind of more safety type bodies. And, you know, I was asking Jaleel, you know, to compare and contrast that between, you know, the advantages that somebody like Muhammad might have had at his size. And, you know, he didn't really want to concede anything. He's like, yeah, those guys were fast and shifty, but just wait till you see us out on the field. Like you're going to understand what we're talking about. So it's not the first time in the world a cornerback has come out super cocky and confident and said, watch me shut down guys, but they're kind of setting the bar with it right now.
All right, tell me about this this punter that they've got from the Outback. You said you had an interesting conversation with the Australian punter down there at Oregon.
Yeah, so they picked him up from Boise State. He is an Australian. He does kind of the Aussie rule style rollout kick. It's just kind of a treat to talk to him because I like to go to those media days and kind of ask weird questions. And lately I've really been into Formula One, and there are two very good Australian drivers that are competing in Formula One. So we were talking a little bit about Daniel Ricciardo and Oscar Piastri. He's talking about how hard it is for him to watch his favorite Aussie Rules Football League games on TV because they come on at 2 a.m. He said it's probably not best to watch those and then get up at 6 a.m. for workouts, but it's an adjustment for him, and I think he's going to be a fun player for the Ducks to watch, and especially a needed player. If you remember, it was after the spring game, Dan Lanning came out and said, like, the one thing that they're looking for is we need to add a new punter, so they went and added a new punter. So.
Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor, joining us. I asked you this question at Big Ten Media Day, and I'm going to ask you again because I'm very fast. I'm like on the fence. I don't know which side I believe. Did you get any more feeling on what's the bigger story, how good this defense is, or the questions on offense?
I think it's going to be how good this defense is, guys. Like I think the offense will get there. I don't know if it's going to be there in week one, but I have enough faith in Will Stein and the talent around them. I think the offensive line is going to be really good, but I think this defense can just really create havoc. You know, maybe they're a little thin at inside linebacker, but they do have a very good leader there in Bryce Betcher. But if you look at the secondary and you just look at some of the records on the defensive line, I just think that they're going to be a very good defense, especially when you have guys like a Tatum Tuioti, who doesn't really get his name thrown out there all that much. But he had a handful of sacks last year. He's always a TFL machine, and they just have depth to that, to where, you know, if somebody is focusing on shutting down Mateo, Tatum can pick up the slack. Or in the secondary, as you mentioned earlier, I think Thieneman is going to be a fantastic player for them, as you kind of saw his name on a lot of those preseason all Big Ten lists.
We'll get you out of here on this. Dante Moore? I got to ask. All signs point to Dante Moore?
Yeah, I think my opinion hasn't changed in the last time I've talked with you guys. Like it was interesting watching, you know, him and Novosad both have their media day things on Monday, and both attracted quite a crowd. And I think Dante's a little bit more comfortable with that. Austin's a very kind of deliberate and quiet speaker. I think they've just had quite substantially different careers in terms of hype and expectations, and I still think it's open, but I think right now it's still looking like Dante's going to be the guy.
All right, fantastic stuff. Thanks, Migo. That's Tyson Alger, the I-5 corridor. Go give him a follow. It's great stuff, and we'll circle back around probably around week one, bud.
I just got fat fingers and accidentally cut him off. Yeah.
Tyson, I'm sorry.
I just got fat fingers and
That's all right. That's all right. That's Tyson Alger. We love him. Everybody at the station loves him. Go give him a follow. The I-5 corridor. It's great stuff. Like I said, we'll circle back with him come around week one. This Ducks team, if you give me the top 10, top 5, hell, top 3 most interesting teams of the year, I think Oregon instantly makes that list. And I'm kind of with Tyson. I think this offense will figure it out. And I think they're
not going to be Iowa.
No. And I hate to call them like a dark horse. They are like over under 10.5 wins.
I mean, they're one of the 3 teams in the Big Ten that have a 10.5 win total.
But this might be the best way for the Oregon Ducks to fly this year.